If you're a young thrill seeker looking for a change of scenery or a retiree ready to jump into simple beach life, you might be wondering, what country should I go to? Two of the most popular countries for tourists and retirees alike are the sandy beaches and the blue waters of exotic Thailand and the Philippines. But which one comes out on top? Mabuhay, my name's Kevin, and I'm an American expat living in the Philippines. I've traveled to 13 different countries, and today we're going to talk about two of my favorites. A lot of people who have never traveled before might have the impression that another country will be just like an Indiana Jones movie, but it's far from it. Many things to consider, like do you prefer tuk-tuks or tricycles, Chang beer or red horse, brunettes or brunettes? Silliness aside, you should have legitimate concerns like, what will the language barrier be like? I'll say for the areas I'm traveling to, and can my stomach handle the local food?
What? You're not eating?
I had bugs for lunch.
Okay, well maybe some places are like an indie movie. But first, let's start with Thailand. Whether you prefer the highly westernized metropolis of Bangkok or the scenic beauty of the country's rural towns and villages, Thailand is certainly its own brand of adventure. I visited Thailand many times in the past decade, and it was the first country I ever solo traveled to, inspired by the movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. A majority of travelers enter through Bangkok, a bustling city that never seems to sleep. Neon lights, bar girls, music, and street vendors and rumbling tuk-tuks keep the city alive and exciting. This is all fine for those who are night owls and require fast-paced living and ease of access, but if you want the real Thai experience, I recommend visiting nearby towns like Ayutthaya, which contains several ancient ruins of temples and Buddhist statues. Also, try taking the train south from Bangkok through the lush green jungles of the countryside. Here you will find cities like Phetchaburi, a monkey-riddled town with Buddhist caves and an ancient summer palace. Further south will lead you to beach hotspots like Hua Hin, which isn't as crowded as places like Phuket or Pattaya, but still carry that same laid-back beach town vibe. But my favorite spot would have to be the South Islands surrounding the big island of Koh Samui. Accessible by plane or ferry, the islands are a beachgoer's dream come true. There's no lack of the word relax here, with resorts and hotels offering a huge selection of Western and local foods, massage and spa treatments, bars, clubs, shopping, and awesome scenery. And now for the Philippines. I first visited the Philippines a few years ago and traveled to Manila, where I stayed in the Makati and Quezon areas. Manila blew my mind with its combination of jeepneys and skyscrapers. The environment around the Philippines seems so much more authentic and truer to form. Makati is like a Westerner's shopping paradise, of endless shopping malls and upper-class restaurants. I never felt unsafe walking around those areas unless I ventured too far and there was a noticeable change in my surroundings. Quezon was a bit more authentic Philippines to me, with its busy streets and grungy buildings, but again, I never felt in danger. I also visited Cebu, a city and island south of Manila, which felt more like a coastal city than a metropolitan melting pot. I explored by taking buses around the island to the small beach towns of Boal and Oslob, known for their secluded white beaches and swimming with whale sharks. This southern part of Cebu was a much more real experience to me. I remember walking around at night under vividly bright starry skies, and I could hear each homestead singing on their karaoke machines while the local youths drank rum on the side of the bridge. So for me, the pros of Thailand is that English is widely spoken there, but in the rural areas it's much harder to find. There's excellent food choices, and also it's referred to as the land of smiles, so the locals are generally very friendly and respectful to out-of-towners. In my impression, there's more jobs available for foreigners, especially in the larger cities, and also it's a cheap country to live in. As far as the cons go, I would say one of the bad things about Thailand would be the scammers, and this kind of runs into the overabundance of bar girls. Seems to be way too many young girls there from the countryside coming to the cities to make money off of very desperate foreigners. Also, the pollution there is very bad. There's lots of garbage on the road, lots of polluted waters. It's very difficult to find clean water in Thailand. That kind of coincides with heavy traffic, not only in the cities but also on the islands. There's lots of accidents pertaining to people on motorbikes, and that's why they call them death bikes on the islands. And mostly foreigners are involved in those traffic accidents. I really love visiting Thailand. It's a beautiful country. In my mind, I feel it's become too touristy in some areas, and it's kind of lost some of its authenticity. So it's a little bit too westernized in certain parts of the country. And as for the pros for the Philippines, seems to be not really much of a language barrier here. As I said, English is widely spoken in the Philippines, making it very easy to communicate and get around. Also, the work-life balance. Filipinos work extremely hard, but they also know how to celebrate. I would include nature here, with more than 7,000 islands, incredible beaches, amazing diving, jungles, hiking trails. You'll be able to find a little bit of everything here. The cost of living, the foods, customs, and lifestyle all seem easier to adapt to. The cons about the Philippines, I would say, similar to Thailand, you have your bouts of scammers, and also bar girls. They don't seem as frequent to me here, but in certain cities they are very heavy. The lack of infrastructure. Even though it has gotten much better in recent years, the lack of Wi-Fi and power outages still cause some difficulties when working remotely. And pollution. Keep in mind, just like Thailand, Philippines is a third world country. Although there are recycling bin areas, rivers and roadways can often be seen littered with refuse. Out of stock scenarios. If you're looking for that hard to find candy bar or ice cream from the Western world, good luck with that. Of course, every country has its up and downs, and while you can research all you want online, you won't really know if a country is for you until you go there and check it out for yourself. Both Thailand and Philippines are go-to places for beaches, diving, food, entertainment, and culture. But if I had to choose, my end choice would have to be Philippines, if you're a patient person. Yes, there are beautiful beaches, savory foods, and exciting adventures to be had all over the world, but overall, the Philippines people are what make the country one worth visiting or living in for me. So when it comes down to my choice, it's not a tie. Next week, I'll be traveling north to Manila, so expect some videos to be coming out about that fairly soon. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and the bell so you won't miss out on any more mediocre entertainment. Salamat.